are going to talk about cycling in two neighboring countries, in Slovenia, where our agency is based, and in our neighboring country of Croatia, which is just to the south of us. For the very beginning, just a very short introduction of ourselves. You have already met Matija, or Matic, as we call him in the team. He is on the photo on the right side, and you can see myself on the left photo. We both have quite a lot of experience in guiding because we were both active as guides, talking about bike tours, hiking tours, ordinary, let's say, tourist tours. We are also passionate hikers, bikers, trail runners in our free time. Matic is also active in caving and rock climbing. Professionally, we both come from this field, which has to do something with the maps. So he is geodesist, I am geographer. So we are responsible for the maps, and we have, let's say, good cover of the surroundings, the orientation in the space. So we are able to provide you good maps for your tours. Matic is also co-founder of the agency, and I am the one who is, let's say, responsible for the coordination of the guides, which is important, especially for the guided tours which we offer.
Okay, I will continue from there. Thanks, Andrei, for the introduction. Just a few words about our agency, about the tour operator that will help you to enjoy your cycling holidays, whether you decide, if you decide to come and join us. Our name, Visit Good Place, maybe gives a pretty good idea of what we are trying to achieve. We really want to have you the impression that the place you're going to visit is definitely good. So we really work hard on this. We are a local-driven boutique and responsible tour operator, so to speak, really committed to sustainability. We have several sustainability certificates like Travel Life or Slovenia Green, and the one we are most proud of is the B Corp certificate. Actually, we are the first B Corp certified company in Slovenia. It's not only on paper, we also do it in real life, so to speak. Just for example, in the last season, in the 2023, we managed to compensate the whole carbon footprint of all our guests on all the tours in Slovenia and Croatia, meaning for everyone from the point of arriving on the destination, taking into the account all the accommodations, overnights, food, inner transportation, and so on. And we did that by helping replanting, by foresting the area of karst in Slovenia, which was heavily damaged in heavy, let's say, very big forest fire 2 years ago. Lots of our tours actually run through this area, not only because of that reason, but that was also one of them that we chose to help rebuild or renew, revitalize this area. Otherwise, we are like so far 5-star rated on different platforms like TripAdvisor, Google, and Facebook, which means us a lot because this is really recognition from you, from our guests. Besides that, we also got quite some recognition in the world renowned media. Actually, since the year of 2020 and until the current year 2024, our tours have been chosen between the top products by National Geographic, Lonely Planet, Guardian, and similar. Actually, if you browse through our webpage, when looking at specific tour, you can actually find the reference to the media and the article where the specific tour was presented. So let us start with a brief overview of our database. What you can see here on the left, it's a huge network, actually, from a distance. Just a second, just let me see, because I see one of Andreas taking care. Okay, I see one of you has problems with a microphone. I hope it is solved. So yeah, what you can see here on the left side, it's a huge extended network of tracks, which are the basis from which we build or design our tours. All those thin red lines are actually in our database by physically checking them or tracing them on the terrain. We regularly maintain them as well. So altogether it gives us over 10,000 kilometers of a huge network. And yeah, you can imagine this is quite some information. We are very proud. We managed to do this because that actually gives us the opportunity to design several tours, different tours, to make them custom or tailored to specific needs and so on. So far, we can offer 6 touring programs, 5 mountain bike, 4 gravel, 2 hiking, and 1 is a bit special, a bit different to others. This is a wildlife watching tour, which takes place in the southern region of Slovenia, in the vast forests of Kočevje region. For all the tours, of course, you can find more detailed information on our webpage, as well as you can download PDF brochures from our page with even more detailed information. So what do we offer? As I mentioned, these different tours can be organized either as guided or self-guided or even tailor-made or custom-made for specific needs of our guests. Taking a guided tour, of course, is the best way to totally enjoy, to relax, not to have to care about anything because our guides will do it instead of you. You only have to come to the destination, you rent the bike. If you don't have your own, we take care for everything else. For booking for your accommodations, we really try to find local places in nice regions. We also take care about the luggage transfer in between the stages and of course the final transfer after you finish the tour to the starting point. I mentioned bike rentals. We have quite a huge fleet of bikes, over 80 bikes already of different types, covering all the segments like touring bikes, e-bikes, mostly for touring, gravel bikes, of course, mountain bikes, regular hardtails, full suspension bikes, and similar. So we really try to maintain them regularly. We change our fleet in the 2 or 3 years time, so you always get the opportunity to ride fairly almost new or very almost new bikes, which are really, let's say, reliable, and this can give you all the necessary enjoyment you need on the in safety, of course, on your biking tour. Regarding support, besides the mentioned luggage transfers and so on, we also take care for the self-guided tours in case of any emergency which might occur. Of course, it's an outdoor sport. Anything can happen, but yeah, usually people or guests on the self-guided tours are quite capable of taking care about some basic repairments and so on. But when something serious happens, of course, it's us who jumps in and try and help you as soon as possible. For the self-guided tours, we offer an extended navigational pack, which is quite, let's say, very well accepted. Actually, in the last few years, especially in the last season, when we started using the Ride with GPS application, also the feedback went much higher. It was already high before, but we were the navigation pack was rated as something really exceptional. There are several let's say navigation apps, of course. Ride with GPS being US made, it's maybe more familiar to the guests coming from states, but also it's gaining quite wider and wider recognition in European and other countries as well. Although in Europe, there are still maybe some other apps which are also quite popular, like Komoot, Outdoor Active, and similar. But as mentioned, we decided for driving GPS. It's hard to say which one is really best or better than others. Both, all of them have some advantages and maybe some faults, but it's something that we really find is useful. It suits our needs, and we are very happy with it, as well our guests, because through the Ride with GPS, we can provide you really precise GPS data, for which we take care, and the whole tour experience with very extensive guide, or let's say booklet. Everything can be downloaded offline to your mobile devices, and you can use either the free mobile application for navigation, or you can download the navigational files and use them with any other specific instrument for navigation, like Garmin, Wahoo, or similar. Mentioning the offline content, that includes also maps, of course, which are downloaded to your device. So in case of any, let's say, poorer internet connection or reception, which can occur now and then, very rarely, but it can. In this case, you are on the safe side because you actually don't need internet connection to navigate. Okay, now we are at our topic of tonight's talk. For today's talk, we will talk about cycling in Slovenia and Croatia, and we will talk about gravel tours. Among those, we will briefly present all of our gravel tours with some special emphasis on the new one, the Adventure Croatia gravel, and we will try to compare it a little bit with another gravel bestseller we have, the Best of Slovenia gravel tour. So you will see, we'll present them through the maps and through some photo and video materials, and hopefully by the end of this presentation you will have quite a good impression of what to expect when coming on a gravel bike tour with our agency.
Yes, thanks, Matic. Let me share with you some impressions about Slovenia and Croatia, and why those two countries are actually so attractive, so good to come here and take time for cycling holidays here. Both countries are undeniably small. Slovenia, for example, is, let's say, approximately the size of Massachusetts in the States, and Croatia is just, let's say, twice as big, but both together they make for a, let's say, magical destination, especially because of the meeting point of very different landscapes. We are here in the southern central part of Europe, where the Alps meet the Mediterranean, and both of them also meet Pannonian plains in Central Europe. And in between, you have, let's say, mysterious world of Dinaric Alps, which is, in other words, a karst region full of underground caves, underground rivers, and other very typical attractions. So let's move to our homeland, to Slovenia for the beginning. The country is, I can say, spectacular, but not because I'm living here, but because I really love its diversity and its greenery. You see, looking at those photos, that we have a lot of forests, we have a lot of greenery, and this is a good idea also for the cyclists, because even in the hot summer you find enough shade to, let's say, take some relaxing ride following the gravel roads, which are very good, very well maintained, and then you let's say, approach the foothills of the mountains. As you can see here on this video clip, there are high mountain plateaus which turn into ski fields in wintertime, ski resorts, and in summertime they are populated by herdsmen, by large flocks of cows or sheep or goats, and people there produce delicious cheese and other milk products, which you can also taste following such gravel lines as you can see them here on this photo or video clip. But Slovenia is not just the cyclist paradise. There are also other opportunities in our, especially outdoors. It's a magnificent destination for hiking from the highest peaks, which almost reach 3,000 meters of altitude. down to the Adriatic coastline, and in between you have a, let's say, huge network of walking paths which are well maintained and signposted. We have glacial lakes and beautiful crystal clear rivers where you can swim. In summertime, it's a very good choice, especially, let's say, Lake Bled, which you can see here on the bottom right photo with the famous island in the middle. The temperature of this water reaches 25 degrees centigrade in summertime, and it's also very popular for swimming, together with the neighboring Lake Bohinj, just a couple of kilometers away. Or on the other hand, you have Slovenia's slice of the Adriatic coastline. You can see the town walls of Piran on the bottom left photo, where you face the Adriatic Sea a couple of meters below, and it's also a very pleasant place to swim or to do some sightseeing in the town of Piran, which is shown on this video clip. Those of you who may prefer some fly fishing, which is also very popular, you will find the kind of paradise for these activities in Slovenia, because our rivers are also very rich on different species of fish. And since we are talking about fish, let's move to the, let's say, food field. Everyone who does some sports becomes hungry sooner or later. And being hungry in Slovenia is a very good opportunity to meet our cuisine, which is also a kind of melting pot of different culinary traditions in Central Europe, because we have succeeded to, or not we, but our chefs, our innkeepers have succeeded to mix the influences from Central Europe, like Austria and Germany, with those coming from Mediterranean. Italy is just across the border. Italian food is, we all agree, I guess, one of the best in the world. And then you have some Central European influences and influences from the Balkans, and altogether makes for a very good and interesting mixture of different types of food, which is nowadays served, let's say, on modern ways, using modern approaches. And some of the restaurants are very, very successful, very good. If you want to reach the stars, literally, you can also visit some of the restaurants or gostilnas, as we call them in Slovenian language, which were recently, let's say, awarded by Michelin stars. And it's a similar situation in neighboring Croatia. I believe everyone has already heard about Croatia's coastline, which is one of the most dramatic, one of the most spectacular, at least in Europe, but I would say also in a wider frame. But it's not just the coast. Croatia has something else to offer, and our gravel tours will take you to these places which represent the mentioned something else. There are the mountains. Immediately behind the coastline, there is a stunning backdrop of the mountains. There are not many rivers in Croatia, because Croatia is quite a dry country, but those rivers that they have are really dramatic. You can see some examples here on the top photos. Many of those rivers are, let's say, included in Croatia's national parks, and are a kind of a secret to be discovered. All over the place you are going to visit, you will encounter many beautiful viewpoints from where you will have stunning views down to the Adriatic shore or across the rivers and mountains. One of such viewpoints is on the top, on the bottom left photo. This is the river Zrmanja, close to the Adriatic coastline, but hidden, and we can say off the beaten track, because many people don't know about it, although they are sunbathing just a couple of kilometers away on the coastline. Croatia is also famous for its restaurants. Maybe there is a slight difference between Slovenian and Croatian food, more or less because Croatia's coastline, let's say, brings the richness of seafood, and seafood is definitely #1 what you can taste in Croatia, but again, using modern approach and still keeping some traditions which live for centuries. let's just have a look about how the gravel cycling looks like in Croatia. This is one of the climbs just above the Adriatic coast, which you can see in the background. It is the Kvarner Gulf, and this moon-like landscape in the background is actually the island of Krk, the biggest island in Croatia. It's a kind of very different landscape, very barren, but spectacular to cross. And yeah, you will have a choice to do it.
Thank you, Andrei. Now I'm taking over again. Now we'll go and present the actual gravel tours which we offer. Here is just an overview map, but let me go a little bit to more detailed presentation just to give you the impression of where we are. Probably those coming from Europe know everything about the location. For those from further away, yeah, Slovenia, directly in the center of European continent, and Croatia, neighboring country, one of them, just going a little bit down south along the Adriatic coast, being actually the northernmost bay of the Mediterranean Sea. Slovenia, encircled by Italy, Austria, and Hungary on the other parts, is actually a small country, but we really like to say, or we really like to emphasize the fact that although being a small country, we are very diverse, or let's say the country itself, the landscape is really, really diverse. So in a small region, or let's say in a short tour, taking 1 week or so, you can experience really many different types of landscape, of weather characteristics, of local cuisine, local language spoken, for example. Of course, foreign languages are widely spoken, English mainly everywhere in Slovenia and Croatia, especially in the touristic places. Otherwise, also German in the north parts of Slovenia, or Italian in the west, and similar with Italian in Croatia as well. These are the 4 tours we are going to briefly present today, with some more, let's say, details about the southern one, the Croatia, in Croatia. But firstly, we will start with one of our best-selling gravel tours so far, the Best of Slovenia Gravel Bike Tour, which goes from north, from the Alps, down to the Adriatic and touches the Istria Peninsula a little bit in Croatia as well. Then we will just briefly mention the around Triglav National Park gravel tour, which actually shares the first few stages with, or almost shares those first stages with West of Slovenia gravel, but then it goes all around the famous Triglav National Park, which covers most of the Alpine region in Slovenia. Then we will present a new tour we just, let's say, put on the website actually a few weeks ago, we could say. This is the Slovenia Backcountry Gravel Bike Tour, which travels from east to west, from Maribor being the second largest city in Slovenia, apart Ljubljana, the capital, and then travels through very different regions compared to the first 2 tours towards the Triglav National Park. So a few more words later on, and then at the end, we will talk mostly about the new Adventure Croatia Gravel Bike Tour, which, as you can see, starts by the sea or close to the coastline, touches the coastline. So it gives you the opportunity to have the impression of this most characteristic or famous Slovenian Croatian places. But then it goes inland into the wilderness of the Velebit National Park, crosses the Velebit Massif, goes down again to the island of Pag, and follows the long island all the way to the Zrmanja River Canyon, which was presented already in a few photos, and it gives you opportunity of another epic loop over the southern Velebit Mountains on the last day. So that would be actually the content of the tours we're going to present right now. Now I will just go back to the slides, and we will continue with some photo presentations for each tour. First, few general information about the gravel tours we offer, about their duration, length, elevation, difficulty, highlights you can experience along the way, and similar. So as you can see, all of our tours are almost 7 to 9 days long, and they can offer you quite different but still enjoyable similar gravel experience. All of the stages are fairly long, so it will take you like a whole day of cycling, but still there are in between always stages with like a half day cycling or similar, which gives you an opportunity to rest a bit, to also do a lot of sightseeing at this end or at the beginning of the stage and similar. All of the tours are suitable for gravel bikes, which we offer in our rental program as well. And of course, they are doable with different bikes as well. For those preferring e-bikes, we have also touring e-bikes, which are also suitable for that kind of tours, or even mountain bikes like hardtail are also okay, depending on the tour. As you can see, the fitness level for all the tours is somehow from medium to high. There are no really big technical difficulties. It's a gravel surface, but I have to point it out that understanding under the word of gravel, let's say, it might be understand quite differently what it means. This is not always just a fine, smooth gravel with little stones where you can ride fast with a gravel bike or even road bike, so to speak. There are some stages and some sections which are quite challenging, mostly because of the very, let's say, hilly terrain the tours cross. There are lots of elevations up and down, and sometimes the surface can be also a bit of a loose gravel, which requires even more effort when climbing, or you have to be even more careful when descending and similar. But still, they are somehow in this range of medium to high fitness level, and with of course medium technical difficulty. Along the way, we already presented some, and we will present some more. The highlights, the landscapes the tour goes through are really very spectacular. And you have the opportunity to ride through remoteness and to visit some very interesting historical towns and similar. First, the Best of Slovenia gravel tour. It is 7 stages long, a bit more than 400 kilometers, and you have to overcome slightly less than 8,000 meters of elevation. You can see the basic characteristics here. Let me just point out the biggest one. In those 7 days, you will cycle from the Julian Alps, actually across the massif of Julian Alps, over the Vršič Pass, then through the Soča Valley, over the Goriška Brda region, very prominent wine region, crossing the Vipava Valley a little bit, and diving deep into the karst region, which is again totally different and spectacular, and then arriving to the Istria, firstly in Slovenia and Istria, and then the last day, the last stage, even going over the national border, which is now open, of course, to Croatia, and doing another loop in the Croatian Istria. So very diverse and very interesting in just 7 days. Again, the map presentation in the western part of Slovenia, the Alpine region, the tour starting in the Austria, actually, on the northern part side of the Karawanke Massive, in the small town of Podkloster or Arnoldstein in German language, crossing the Karawanke to the Sava Valley in Slovenia, staying in the Kranjska Gora resort, and also visiting some very interesting glacier valleys, and then continuing over the Alps, over the Vršič Pass, being the highest mountain pass in Slovenia, where the road can take you over, and then following the Soča River, Soča being one of the most beautiful rivers in this part of Europe, or Europe itself, as you can see here on the right side. This is actually the typical emerald color of the Soča River. And you follow it and you cycle above the Soča River all the way across the Goriška Brda region, karst, full of caves and other phenomena, and then reaching the Adriatic coast. And this is the last day, also going inland to the Istria Peninsula on the Croatian side. Just for the comparison, the first stages here are similar with the around Triglav National Park, but after the 3 days, the Triglav National Park, after 4 days, the Triglav National Park tour goes towards east and encircles the whole massif of the Julian Alps here in Slovenia, or actually it goes, as the name says, around the whole Triglav National Park, just for the idea of what to expect. Some typical characteristics of those two tours. In the first days, the Julian Alps. These are the typical views you can experience when cycling there. For example, this bottom left picture shows an old mulattiera road. It's actually a trail going uphill. It's not too steep, but sometimes you see this is not really a gravel road. It's actually a trail, but it's totally doable by gravel bike, but you have to overcome in one go almost 900 meters of elevation. So it requires quite some effort, but the views on the other side are really spectacular. And on the other side, you descend down via the asphalt road into the valley of the Soča River. Soča Valley, as mentioned before, being one of the nicest river I know actually, and also the others who come here can confirm it, because lots of people come to the western part of Slovenia just because of the Soča Valley and the Soča River. Below the river, you cycle high up and see it from the heights. You cross the river on the suspension bridges, you cycle directly on the riverbed and another bridge, etc., etc. It gives you also the opportunity to stop by, to enjoy even swimming if you don't mind cold water. Just for example, the Soča River in this upper part is, although being quite a big river, or it's not really a huge river, but it's not a small stream, but it's still crystal clear, and it's also drinkable, so to speak. So you don't have to worry about this at all. Then the Best of Slovenia gravel tour goes down south through the Goriška Brda and Karst region, where the landscape changes drastically. You will cross big areas of vineyards, open meadows, old historical towns, and of course the cuisine will change. Typical prosciutto on Karst goes perfectly well with the Teran wine, red wine, rich in flavor, rich in taste. It's really good combination. So yeah, you will have an opportunity to try many other local delicious as well. And in the last day, you reach the Slovenian coast in the small Venetian town of Piran. This is actually the final day on the trans tour, and the next day will offer you another loop to go inland to Croatia, Istria, to experience some more gravel roads, some more historic towns with another different type of local cuisine based on truffles and different Malvasia wine, for example, and similar. So it's really diverse to wrap up this long and interesting tour. The new one I mentioned at the beginning, the Slovenia Backcountry Gravel Bike Tour, that's the one which takes place along the northern border of Slovenia, close to Austria. It's similar, 7 stages, a bit shorter than the epic one or the Best of Slovenia Gravel Tour, but as you can see, even more elevation. To my opinion, and I share it with all my colleagues, this is actually one of the most gravel-like and scenic tours we can offer in Slovenia, because it's really wild. It's really something special, because you cycle through some very remote forest areas, open meadows, where there is literally nothing or nobody you can meet for the whole day. The stages are nicely designed, so you have enough time at the beginning and at the end of the stage, but still the remoteness in between and the stunning nature all around gives the real let's say impression of this tour, which is something definitely special. This is what the start of the tour looks like. Directly from the town of Maribor, cycling close to the Drava River, you start climbing up over the hills with vineyards, looking down back on the city, but then going up to the forests of the Pohore Plateau with some sections of open views, but still the green highlands everywhere around you, and definitely very remote and very quiet and enjoyable sections to ride. Next part of the tour goes close or even around the Kamnik-Savinja Alps, which will give you the opportunity to see totally different views like this, with some remote farm stays with the big mountain walls behind, then descending on the other side of these Alps and climbing back to the Karavanke Massif. This is the other landscape again on the upper two pictures, and all together is wrapped up when descending and continuing to the very end, close to the entrance point, or actually you do enter to the Triglav National Park at the famous Bled Lake. Those images is maybe most famous or similar images like this: Bled Lake with Black Island and the castle above and mountains behind. So this is definitely the place to finish the tour in style. Moreover, after those 7 days, even when you have the opportunity to experience all this diversity, you can still decide and continue deep inside the Triglav National Park. We can make a custom tour for yourselves to prolong it over the Pokljuka Plateau, to follow the Sava River to Kranjska Gora town, to go and visit Bohinj Lake as well. So all can be done. Once you reach the Bled Lake, you can either finish the tour or enjoy it even more on the bike a few days more. And here is the newborn child as well, the one which stretches in the Croatia. It's actually part of the Transdinarica route, or kind of shares few stages with Transdinarica route, which we are creating as well. Andrei will give you a few more details at the end, just some brief information about it. But for now, just let me say, it's similar 7 stages tour, a bit shorter than the previous two, also a bit less of elevation, but still there are some stretches of cycling which will require quite some efforts, because to achieve the best views from the Velebit Mountains over the islands, one has to climb and to pedal quite high, but it's worth doing it, and at the end you are rewarded with really spectacular views. The biggest characteristics are that you will actually try and ride over the inland, the Velebit, the national park, and also the islands on the other side, or let's say at the bottom of the foothill of the Velebit Mountains. And at the end, you will have the opportunity to go to visit and explore the stunning Zrmanje River, which you have already seen on a few pictures at the beginning, but we'll show you a little bit more about it now. I will just show you a bit more details on the map. So this is the Adventure Croatia gravel bike tour. It is divided in stages like this. Just to present you the main segments of the tour, it starts here close to the Rijeka city, which has good connections with several close by international airports. It starts actually in the small town of Chaule and then continues directly above the Adriatic coast. And then it actually goes down to the Adriatic in the city of Crikvenica. So the first stage, being an easy one, relax, just gives you the opportunity to somehow warm up, to enjoy the coast as well and all the benefits it brings. But then the very next day will start with some hard climbs going high above the Adriatic coast, but with the views down to the islands. Those of you could see on the movie or the video clip at the beginning. And not to get too tired, you go back to the coast to enjoy it a bit more. But the following stages are epic ones, because you will dive deep into the Velebit National Park. Here you will climb over 1,100 meters in one stage to the small and remote village of Krasno, and on the following day into the national park area, and you will cross the massif with some very remote and beautiful gravel roads, which will gradually start descending on asphalt road with a really spectacular views to the islands directly down on the coast, with a ferry across the channel and on the island of Pag. This stage is pretty long, it's really epic, but luckily half of it, of course, descends down towards the sea level. The next stage is all about island of Pak. You will actually cycle across the whole island in one go. At the end, you even cross the bridge and go back to the inland. And then the last stage, or the one before the last, will take you past the Zrmanja River Canyon to the waterfalls of Zrmanja. And the very last day, another loop over to the southern part of the Velebit with some very nice gravel climbs and descents and spectacular views again from the Velebit Mountains down to the area um, of islands and the flats below the Velebit Massif. First few days above the Kvarner Gulf was mentioned, more relaxing, not too hard, but still you will be able to fetch some nice views from a little bit higher above over the islands and over to the Istria Peninsula on the other side, the Kvarner Bay. This is the image from the town of Sen, the second stage endpoint. Nice small fisherman's town with good restaurants, with nice cuisine and good place to relax, because the next day you will go up high to the Velebit. This is the typical Velebit landscape. Lots of rocks. It's very those pictures, for example, were taken out from the forests where you have some views, but you also have to cross lots of forest area. And for example, this is the image for the following day on the island of Pak. As you can see, no vegetation. Why is it so? Actually, this Velebit Massif, which stretches way over 1,000 meters above sea level, is guilty for that, because the famous Bora wind is borne up on the ridges of Velebit Mountains, and then it blows down towards the Adriatic coast, and it actually swipes away all the vegetation on the islands, for example. It's a bit of an exaggeration, yes, but it's quite close to the actual truth. So these are some images from very nice rocky sections. For your information, particularly here, there was the setting for one of the Vinatu movies, which was filmed here in Croatia, also above the canyon of Zrmanja in the later stages. So also some interesting places from this point of view. Another typical image of Pak Island and the bridge which connects the island with the continent. And again, another one which just takes you over the narrow sea passage and close to the Zrmanja Canyon. This is the one you will have to do a short detour, very short, to see it. To be honest, if you stay on the road which takes you from Pak to Zrmanja, you won't even know about the canyon. But we designed the tour in a way that you will go directly to this viewpoint and have the opportunity to see this deep and interesting canyon. The end of the tour actually happens in this place you can see in the upper pictures. These are the waterfalls of Zrmanja River. It's a perfect spot for relaxation and for enjoyment after the tour. You take two overnights here at the Zrmanja waterfalls, because you will go and do another loop to the southern Velebit, which is also quite spectacular, and it will require some last efforts and some more energy. But again, returning down to the Zrmanja River with the possibility of relaxing, of swimming, and having a good restaurant around, it's quite a way to finish your tour in style. So yeah, from the Adriatic coast up to the Velebit Mountains and back down to the islands and to the coast and to the inland Zrmanja River. These are, let's say, the main characteristics, full of gravel experience. And maybe one more thing I need to point out, some of the sections on this tour are really remote in terms of let's say, quite a difficult support in case anything happens. So a bit different compared to other tours, but on this one has to be, especially on the self-guided tour, of course, has to be capable of taking care of the navigation, of some basic bicycle maintenance, having some spare parts, which we of course provide at the beginning of the tour, and similar, because the remoteness and wilderness is really nice and beautiful, but of course that means also the necessity of being self-sufficient for in case of anything happens. Yeah, some bigger things, of course, we are there to help and to assist. Okay, so this is actually the end of the photo overview, and now I will give the word back to Andrei, just to give you some main characteristics about the tour organization.
Well, thanks a lot, Matic, for this extensive presentation of those tours. I'm hardly waiting for summertime to do some biking myself, because when I see these photos, I'm always happy and imagine myself somewhere there. I would just like to steal you 2 or 3 more minutes for some technical data, and then we will conclude our meeting with some questions and answers. First of all, some technicalities. I'm sure you are interested in the prices for these tours. The general price are set on our webpage and are, let's say, different because it's not the same if you do the self-guided tour or if you decide for joining us on one of the pre-scheduled guided tours. So I suggest you to check our website for some of those tours and check the prices. And if you will have some more questions, feel free to write us, to contact us, and you will get more specific information about pricing, or maybe if you have some special wishes to let's say, to tailor the tour according to your wishes, you will also get this pricing separately. The best times to visit are, of course, important to set. You have seen in this hour that landscapes we are going to cross on these tours are different, from highest Slovenian mountains on one side down to the Adriatic coastline on the other side. And of course, the weather is not the same in these parts of Slovenia and Croatia. And this, of course, also affects the best possible timings for the visit. I would say in general, the season is, of course, a little bit shorter in higher mountains. So in the north of Slovenia, where our tours are set, the season is mostly between, let's say, June and late September or October, because typically the weather in recent years is changing a little bit, and we may have a little bit longer winters, which let's say wing their tails down to April or even beginning of May, and then the good weather starts and it lasts not just to the end of September, but mostly relatively deep into October. So I would say that closer to the sea, the best time is on shoulder seasons, which means May and June, or on the other hand, September and October, because the peak season in summer may be too hot for cycling. The famous wind, Burja or Bora, which was mentioned a couple of minutes ago, shouldn't scare you, because this wind, which affects Croatian islands so much and turns them into moon-like landscape, is typical for winter time, not for summer times. Here in this table, you can see some of the scheduled tours which are going to be guided. Slovenian tours, you can see one of them being organized. So the Best of Slovenia gravel tour will be organized in the first week of July. And Slovenia Backcountry tour will be organized at the end of May. The field for Adventure Croatia, so for this last tour, which was presented to you by Matic, is still empty. We haven't set the date yet, but we will schedule it according to your wishes if you are going to contact us, and we will see when the interests are, let's say, the highest. The self-guided or tailor-made tours, as mentioned, are the best between May and down to, let's say, September, or even deeper into October. And just a couple of more words about we also offer. Apart from gravel tours, our program is also rich on touring, cycling, and mountain bike tours in Slovenia and in Croatia. Some of them were also presented in the webinars a couple of days ago. You will also be able to see these recorded webinars on our YouTube channel very soon. We also offer some hiking tours like Walk of Peace and Best of Slovenia hiking. Walk of Peace following the traces of World War I and fortifications left by these battles in Western Slovenia. And as Matic has mentioned, wildlife watching. If you want to meet some brown bears in person and talk to them nicely, you can join one of our wildlife watching tours, which are also, let's say, kind of attraction. Transdinarica was also mentioned. It is the work in progress, and we are closing to the end of it because in summer this year it will be presented. I'm sure you've heard about Dinaric Alps. It's a geographic feature connecting Slovenia with several countries all the way down to the Balkans, like Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Albania, Macedonia, and so on, Serbia also. If you will decide for a Croatian gravel tour, you will actually see the introduction into Transdinarica route. But if you will decide to do some progress further down south, you will get into this wild area, which is one of, let's say, last European wilderness, still remained quite untouched, and spectacular gravel and local asphalt roads will take you through this landscape of tremendous natural beauties and very friendly people, rich traditions, history, and so on. It is a project co-founded by United States, USA funds, but also several European countries like Germany, Sweden, Switzerland cooperate here with investments. And this tour, although not open yet officially, was also already recognized by several important media. You can see some of them placed at the bottom of this slide, chosen for one of the best experiences in 2024, or adventures to see and do in 2024. So we are excited to offer it to you. Just wait 3-4 more months, and this, let's say, big project is going to be presented. Yeah, at this point, I would like to thank you for joining us today. I hope that we were interesting enough with presenting our offer, our tours, different types of tours in Slovenia and Croatia.